Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Sports World with Patrik. I'm your host, Patrik, and today we have a very special group of guests joining us from the Auburn Hockey team. First, we have Landon Patz. Landon is not only the assistant captain, but also the president of the team. We also do have Alex Duchemin, a junior forward, and the vice president of the Auburn Hockey team. And we also do have Callen Daily, the captain of the team. Not just do these athletes play hockey at their respective university, but they also do hold several titles there. And so, first of all, guys, thank you guys for coming onto the podcast. How's everybody doing? How's everything going with you guys and with the team?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough year record-wise, but it's a great group of guys, and this is one of my favorite teams I've gotten to play on. Just the locker room is awesome, especially for a team that may be struggling a little bit more on the record side of things. But yeah, it's a great team to be on.
Yeah, to piggyback on what Landon's saying, we have a great group of guys. Even though we're not winning, it's kind of we're meshing and we have good chemistry with our teammates, so that pays dividends for us. And it's not the best season in regards to statistics, but I think that the good group of guys we have is going to carry over to next year.
And also, it's awesome to have you guys here on the podcast. And it obviously is incredible that you guys are leading your organization there. So let's go ahead and get started with this. So if Landon, Alex, and Callen, you guys can sort of give me, because I know, Alex, you're from Madison, Wisconsin, and Callen, you're from Columbus, Ohio. A little bit of a more traditional hockey market, a few traditional hockey markets there, and then obviously Landon, you're from Anaheim. So you guys sort of have that also there with the Anaheim Ducks. So, can you guys sort of just give me what made you start your hockey journey, and how you got involved with it, and then why you chose Auburn to go and play at Auburn?
Yeah, so for me, it started. I have an older brother, and my grandparents had duck season tickets actually. They'd take my brother and I to, they had a half season, so half the games. And I was there when they won the cup in '07, which was awesome. And I was only 3 years old at the time. But my brother really loved the games and he wanted to play. And as the younger brother, you don't really totally get to decide some of the things. So I ended up playing hockey, and it was hands down my favorite sport I played growing up. I tried pretty much all of them. And yeah, I loved it going to Ducks games, playing for the junior Ducks. It was huge. It may not seem like a big hockey market, but Southern California, with especially with two NHL teams, is a pretty big market. And then for Auburn, I knew I wanted to go somewhere far for school. So I was looking out a lot of Big Ten and SEC schools, a couple ACC schools mixed in there. And my cousin actually played softball at Mizzou, and she was the one who told me to apply and visit Auburn because it was her favorite school she went to while traveling for the softball team. And when I visited, I loved it.
You can go next, Callen, or Alex, whichever one you guys want to go for next.
For Alex to go. Yeah. So growing up, I had a neighbor that played hockey. He was I think he was about 10 years older than me, maybe 7 years older. In the winters, it gets pretty cold in Ohio, so always put up about like an outdoor ice rink in our backyard. And my dad made one year, and my neighbor came over and kind of taught me how to skate and play. And then I kind of fell in love with the game and just continued playing, played house, and then tried out for travel and played travel and growing up. And then after high school, well, after travel, when I graduated high school, I ended up going to play juniors out on the East Coast for 3 years, and then went Division 3 for a year and ended up I didn't like it. It just wasn't for me, and then came to Auburn, and best decision I made.
Yeah, me and Cal actually took similar routes with our junior hockey careers, but I guess I started playing hockey at around 3 years old, or at least started skating. My dad played hockey in northern Wisconsin, and as you know, the Midwest pull for hockey is pretty high. We're close to Canada, and it's always cold, so there's a good chance that every youth in Wisconsin has stepped foot on an ice rink. I just happened to like it because my dad played it, and in the first like 5 or so years I've played, I made a lot of good friends. So I stuck with it throughout all of youth hockey through bantams, and then I ended up deciding that I was going to quit baseball and the other sports that I love to pursue a hockey career. And I played hockey through 4 years of high school. I also played on a travel team during that time. After that, I was exploring junior hockey interest, and I ended up going to Gillette, Wyoming, to play in the NA3HL, which is sort of a Midwest, Southwest hockey league, Tier 3. And I played pretty well there, but I sort of figured out that there was very little chance of me actually going to play at the D1 level, and I would have to stick it out for another 2 years if I wanted to play at the D3 level. I was kind of burning out, so I decided to explore interests from schools that I thought were matches for me. I was originally committed to go to Minnesota, but I ended up rethinking that and going to visit Auburn and Tennessee, and I just fell in love with Auburn's campus. And from the first day I visited Auburn, I knew that I was going to commit there. I signed the commitment letter about an hour after my tour got done, and ended up, I wouldn't change a thing. So that's what my journey was.
And so, Alex and Callen, I do have this question for you because obviously you guys are the Midwest group, and obviously, I don't know how much of a influence, whether it was the Columbus Blue Jackets or even the Badgers for you guys, or for you, Alex, that really, because I know, Landon, you do talk a lot about the Anaheim Ducks and how much they were an influence on you too, and I sort of do want to include you on this conversation here. How much of those NHL teams being there was a big influence. I've talked to a few coaches here and there, and the number one thing they've been saying is, these NHL teams and, whatever it's college teams in the area, they're a big influence. And one coach that I particularly talked to a few days ago said, if it hadn't been for the Coyotes in Arizona, we probably wouldn't have had Austin Matthews. So how much of that was really between the college, and I know, I think it's Madison, Wisconsin that has the Madison Capitals also there, the USHL team. So how much of those local teams really had an impact on your guys' career and how it started?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can start here. The Madison Capitals are a USHL team. They've been together ever since I was a kid. They have installed youth programs within the depths of hockey in Wisconsin, and they're good teams. They're teams that players strive to play for. There's also teams like the Wisconsin Badgers that do hockey camps. And then there's teams like the Janesville Jets, which is a Tier 2 team in Wisconsin. All of them have sort of helped to lift up the youths of Wisconsin hockey and take them to the next level, maybe start to compete with a state like Minnesota. But I grew up watching the Badgers. I'm a huge Badger fan. My friend's dad had season tickets to the Wisconsin hockey games, so I would be catching a game probably, every other week, and it all just kind of came together and helped me fall in love with the sport. And those big hockey programs always, like I said, help to install sort of a hockey culture within the youth, and Wisconsin is getting better, as we're talking right now. So I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Columbus, their community, the Blue Jackets is pretty special. They have a ton of youth programs, just like in Madison as well. I think a lot of the players that play in Columbus fall in love with Columbus and they end up retiring and creating a family there. So all the older players, like Umberger and Rick Nash, they all have houses in Columbus and they stay, they have kids, and then they help out with the youth programs. So they kind of can build it bigger and branch out in Columbus. So I think that's really special. And they also have a tight knit group with the community as well. They're always helping out. I know growing up from practices, we always would have, Umberger or like Freddie Modine or Rick Nash or Cam Atkinson would always come out to our practices, either like take photos or skate with us, just stuff like that to help out and kind of influence us and push us and strive us to, to be like, hey, it's possible to make it to the NHL and just to keep striving.
Yeah, and similar with Columbus, it sounds like the Ducks have done a fantastic job investing in youth, even compared to the other counterparts in the state, the Kings and the Sharks, who do have good youth programs, but the Ducks one really is something special. It's something the owners of the Ducks really focused on. And they have this high school league that you'd never think would be have 40 plus teams now in Southern California. To be able to even field that many hockey players in a state like that is pretty impressive. So I think the investment of the big teams, especially into non-traditional hockey markets, is a huge reason of why there's so many more NHL players coming out of states like California, and how Austin Matthews came out of Arizona. And I know there's some out of Nevada now also. So I think the investment by the large teams into the youth is huge, especially the Anaheim Ducks do a great job of that. That's their biggest success, hands down.
And then, so I do also have this question for all of you guys. Obviously, you guys are all in different positions. Alex, obviously, you are the vice president of the Auburn hockey team, and Landon, you're the president. And then Callen, you are the captain of the team. So I know, sort of being the leadership group and the executive group of the team, you guys probably have the most pressure on this, team, and have a very big huge responsibility to make sure your schedules are done, and you have the trip planned and how you're going to get to a game. So what is that like? What is your guys' life like, balancing your leadership roles both on and off the ice, and how do you guys sort of manage all these different hats that you guys have as student athletes?
One thing that we do pretty well is delegation. Cal's actually our secretary too, and he does all the hotels and buses for trips, which is a huge lifesaver for me as president, who's done all the scheduling and stuff that I don't have to constantly be checking my email for potentially a hotel or a bus cancellation or something like that. So delegation really helps out. And also, one big thing is when you're at the rink, especially for a game, you almost wear two different hats, where it's like a hockey hat time versus a leadership and president time. And there are circumstances, like on Friday we had a couple players it didn't register with the school of their pre-concussion test that said that they hadn't done it, and the school said they were ineligible the day of the game and just let me know. So that was a little bit of a panic, and luckily the trainers worked really well with us at the rink before the game to get that done. But there's definitely challenges where they overlap, because that was definitely more stressful, especially more stress than I wanted to have right before a game. But usually it's the separation between when it's time to play hockey and when it's leadership is the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, Landon got a lot on his plate, so I know he does. I see it, so I try to help out whenever it's possible. But also, the leadership role, your responsibility is pretty high. You have all the weight, good and bad. And I think the hardest part, obviously, when you're winning, everything's easy. Everyone loves it. Everyone's having a good time. But the hardest part is when everyone's losing, keeping everyone up, right? Not being negative. Because if you're negative and there's cancer on the team, then it's going to spread and it will just destroy the teams. Being positive in times when we're losing, which this season is not our best season, and striving for better next year. But that's keeping everyone positive, like I said, and keeping everyone's heads up, the confidence, keeping people confident. When you lose confidence, you go downhill. So you got to keep everyone up. So you have to make sure you're leading by example as well. They say less talk, more work. Put your head down sometimes. You don't need to say anything. Just go and prove it on the ice and lead by example.
I mean, I guess I'll make 2 points here. So the first one, I think that we all sort of do our jobs just because we love hockey and we want this team to continue and succeed. And we believe that we'll put this team in a good place. It's not, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that the three of the people who are in leadership roles for the team are also the two assistant captains and captain. I think the guys on the team trust us to get our jobs done. And that speaks volumes towards obviously Callen's leadership, but also, Landon's as well. The second point I'll make is that I think the pressure for me and Callen, the pressure of having to succeed as an elite hockey player is gone in my eyes. Callen played D3, I played junior hockey. We were constantly thinking about the next level and how we had to have a good game. If a scout was there, maybe coach isn't going to let us play unless we play well in practice, right? So there's a constant tier system that you have to jump up. And when you come to Auburn, that sort of goes away. It's a club team, and we have fun and we play hockey. And I think sort of the stress of having to be your perfect idea of a player is gone. And that's what makes the game fun for me. And that's partly why I love doing my leadership role, is because I don't feel stressed about it anymore.
So I do also have this question because you guys were just talking about being stressed, and also, Callen, you mentioned, keeping a team motivated whenever you do have a loss, and you're losing, and you're having a rough season. So how do you guys, being in the leadership roles that you guys are in, how do you guys keep a team motivated? And I know that's got to be pretty mentally tough also on you guys with being in school and being in your leadership roles. You guys have a lot of mental toughness, and I have a lot of respect for that. But how do you guys sort of work your guys' way around that throughout a season?
Yeah, getting guys to want to come to the rink. That's the biggest thing. When people don't want to come to the rink, people don't want to try, and then people leave. So keeping people wanting to come to the rink, have fun, right? Number one, have fun. Like club hockey's having fun. And I've played on a team where it was a job. D3 is a job, and a lot of people don't like their job. I didn't like going to my job. So club hockey's fun, and if that means getting the guys together, that the best part is off the ice. I mean, on the ice is awesome, right? But getting the guys together and bonded happens off the ice, and then we should all be jiving on the ice. So if we have problems or we need motivation, we can do team events or team activities to kind of build that.
Yeah, like we play football as a team all the time, lots of basketball, especially with how good our men's basketball team is this year. It helps with the motivation to do that. And also when we had a rough patch last semester, and instead of just getting yelled at practice or skating, we had a inter squad scrimmage on the Monday before week of the game. And that really was actually one of our best practices because it had the highest level of compete. And also it was super fun for the guys, and it brought the fun back, especially in what was a rough stretch of games. And then the following weekend, we beat Alabama and then lost in the championship of the tournament pretty tight to South Carolina. It was tied 4-4, I believe, going to the third. So definitely the group activities and just making practice fun is a good way to help out the team in that way.
And so I also do have this one, Alex, did you want to add on to that a little bit?
I think those two guys explained it great.
And then I do also have this question, is there a particular moment or experience from your time at Auburn that sort of stands out and was a key turning point in growing as a player and as a leader for you guys?
I mean, I guess I can speak first. My freshman year, or Landon and I's freshman year, we took a trip to Athens, Georgia. One of the most fun trips I have ever had in my entire life. I will never forget the memories that were made on that trip. But it was those memories that convinced me I wanted to be a part of this team for the next 4 years, and I wanted to help it continue, because I would imagine that if this team didn't continue, the freshmen who would want to be on the team wouldn't be able to make the same memories that I made. And I would feel guilty for that, because they truly are some of the best in my entire life.
Now, it didn't include running through bushes at Georgia, correct?
Yes, that did. It was a wild night, but, we came there for hockey, we played hockey, and then we had a night out. So it was pretty fun.
Yeah, that was, for me, it's that same weekend. And I know that's where I think all of me and Alex lived together also, and all of our roommates were all kind of stuck together on that trip by the end of it. So that's where, especially as the freshman, and there was a sophomore there too, really became a good group of friends. And that was, I think it was late September, early October. So it was pretty early on in our college careers. So it was nice to feel like we kind of built almost like a family also through that awesome trip?
Yeah, I have two couple favorite events. Last year we went to Nashville. That was probably one of my top favorite events. Now, this is my second year, so last year was my first. Nashville was really fun. We won both games, and we went out to downtown and partied it up a little bit. Had fun. And then also sweeping Bama both years. That was pretty much the highlight of our hockey schedule. So those were some fun times. I definitely Auburn my top 5 highlights.
Now, Callen, was that by any chance the same? Was it the same weekend that you guys were in Nashville when Morgan Wallen threw the chair off of the bar? Apparently, supposedly.
No, I think that was months before, or we were in Nashville months before that happened. But when we that was pretty funny.
And how do you think you guys' leadership styles have really evolved since you guys have taken on the C's, the A's, and the executive board titles that you guys have? Because I know over time you guys sort of do have that, and for your future teammates who want to aspire to go into the execs and wear the C's and the A's, what is sort of the one thing you tell them that they need to do to be a leader on the team?
Yeah, I think one thing is you are going to have to make, and you're going to learn how to be able to make the difficult decision and what's best for the team, whether that's the popular decision, especially when you're on a group or team that you're really good buddies with a bunch of guys. I think it's definitely difficult to make the right decision when it's the unpopular one. I know that's something I've struggled with and gotten a lot better at.
That's definitely the hardest thing. You're never going to be able to please everyone, but you do what's good for the team, best for the team, and what's in the best interest of everyone. And knowing that you did the right thing, you can support that, knowing that hey, this is best for everyone. That's well with us. Yeah, being a leader it can be difficult. That's just, and it's not all leadership skills are natural. There's a lot that need to be learned. Like you have to, leadership is not all like you need to learn leadership skills, and it takes practice and time. And not all leaders are perfect. Like no one's perfect, so try the best you can and what's best for everyone.
Yeah, you got to have the courage to make mistakes. That's one big thing is that, you're never going to be perfect. Guys might hate you for some decisions, but at the end of the day, you get your job done and keep the team going. And that's sort of the mesh that happens between your executive role and your captaincy role. Is that like you're not perfect, like I've walked into the room and broke a whole thing of water bottles one time because I lost my cool. I know maybe Cal's hit someone from behind before, right? Like there are times where you have lapses in judgment, but it's your ability to come back from those lapses in judgment that makes you a better person. And that's the blend between our executive role and our captaincies.
And then, so I do have this question, sort of, because I know each team's going to have a different culture. Auburn's not a traditionally, well-known school for hockey, and with it being in the southern market with SEC football, and then with the success that the basketball team is having this year, I think it also had the same one or same success last year. How would you guys describe the team culture, and what makes Auburn hockey unique? And Callan, if you could on this question a little bit, just with Auburn, you were playing D3 for a while there. What made the Auburn hockey group so much more unique than the D3 program that you've ever played in?
I think the biggest thing is like player club hockey is having fun. It's not a job, and I think D3 was more of it was just a job, and that's literally that is the main difference. And the culture in Auburn, we have a great fan base for our hockey team, and they travel 45 minutes to watch our games, so that helps us, right? That gives us our energy to perform, and also our culture as a team. We're a really tight knit group. Everyone gets along with everyone. We don't have any oddballs that are gonna, destroy our team or be a cancer to our team. Everyone buys in. That's the thing. Everyone buys in. No one's like being rebellious and being like, I don't like this, blah 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 blah. Yeah, we have disagreements, but everyone is on the same page. And that's what makes us special. And that's why next year we're really looking forward to, making a push or switching division or switching leagues. So that's going to help us, I think, have some more success as a team, as a group.
And one thing we also benefit from is we're the only hockey team here. Some of the other club teams have maybe a Division 1 or Division 3 team in front of them. So we get to represent the school at the highest level of hockey that the school has. And also another big thing is the northern people who come down to the school who love hockey, love to support us because, like I said, we're the only hockey team down here. So that's the big benefit we have as a team.
Where you want to add something to that?
I think that club hockey as a culture is like just getting better around the country in general. The South, I don't even think had feasible club hockey leagues 10, 15 years ago. And now you have probably 3 or 4 leagues around the country that play at the D1, D2, D3 club level. I mean, it's crazy how fast it's grown. And the Auburn culture has not been far behind. I mean, we have a lot of fun and we are a competitive hockey team. And that's the reason why I think I love it, and I think a lot of the guys in the team love it.
And then sort of as you mentioned, Callen, I'm going to sort of on this, you guys obviously have a moving fan base that will drive 45 minutes just to watch you guys play. How much of that with your guys' team dynamics and also with your guys' leadership roles as, presidents, vice presidents, and secretaries, how much of that work behind the scenes you guys sort of put out there to promote people to come to the game that you guys are playing in, whatever it's this past weekend or this weekend when you guys were playing the University of Tennessee, or upcoming games like playing Alabama for the Iron Cup and all that. How does that sort of work for you guys?
Landon and Alex, they do a lot of work. They work for reaching out, especially with our media team, reaching out to the fan base and to students, getting a good crowd at our games. We also have a couple parents on the team that help us out with, arranged food and drinks or tailgates before and after the game. So that also makes it more of like a fraternity. Everyone can come and hang out before the game and have a good time with the parents and the fans, and then have a kind of an all day event rather than just show up to the rink, watch the game, and then come.
Yeah, and definitely some games like Alabama, there's no challenge getting people to the game. Literally, an Instagram post is good enough, and it's going to be completely full. And then there are other weekends, maybe like at AC, if we play like a Georgia Tech or Vanderbilt, not the biggest rivals of our school. And it's definitely more of a challenge, but, we can do things like fraternity nights where the largest or Greek nights with the largest sorority or fraternity attending the game, they get half of our ticket sales. Stuff like, and different, maybe military nights. There's a really big pull in the Columbus area, which is where our rink is in, for military. So that's a good way to be able to get them at the game, and maybe the, not as marquee games to still get a good crowd there.
Yeah, it's all about being creative. There's so many different things that you can do to draw a crowd, but we've been trying to, in the last couple of years, come up with new stuff. And I think we've been successful at that. There's also a good chance to shout out our media team. They're the people that work behind the scenes in the social media to create posts and videos and stuff that promotes the team. I can't speak for Callen and Landon, but I have zero clue how to use After Effects, like Adobe After Effects. The media team does all of that, does the Instagram posts and stuff, and they do a great job. So that's kind of the whole backing for Instagram and Twitter.
And then I also do sort of have this question because obviously you guys all have to work together. What has been the most important thing that, you guys have learned about teamwork during your time at Auburn Hockey? And, what are sort of the goals you guys want to achieve on and off the ice?
Yeah, communication is huge for leadership. Something that I haven't before this, it hasn't been that important to me, or I haven't valued it. But I've learned the importance of communication, and without it, you can't get things done. That's both on and off the ice. And then some of the goals for the future is to be able to grow the team publicly, outside of just on ice accomplishments. Next year, we're looking forward to, there's a 10,000 seat arena in Columbus, and we're going to play Alabama in there. So to get a big crowd for that game would be awesome, and to really engage in the market of Columbus more. And then on ice is just we want to win a championship. Next year is there's a couple tournaments we'll be playing in, so we want to win a championship, and every team's goal is to be able to hold up that number one. So that's our goal at the end of the day.
I can go. So I think that my biggest goal when I first came to Auburn, that was sort of in the back of my mind, was growing hockey in the South. I come from a place where hockey's pretty prominent. It's kind of embedded in the roots of Wisconsin and Minnesota. Minnesota's a hockey state, so I think that is probably all of our sort of deeper main goal, is helping people find out about who we are and expanding our program. I love people who play hockey. I love people who watch hockey. I think hockey's a great sport. I think it's a great community, and I think expanding that community towards the South and even maybe the Southwest, as you've seen in Arizona, would be a great thing. Maybe bring a team to Atlanta. I know the NHL is thinking about that again. But that's kind of our main baseline goal. And then obviously to have success. We want to win championships. We want to get our names in the record books. And we want to put Auburn hockey on the map.
Yeah. Going back to your question about the teamwork thing, like Landon was saying, communication. If you don't have the communication, everything collapses. You need that. And then going off what Deuce was saying, Auburn in the South, it's getting bigger. Auburn hockey is growing. You go around campus, you talk to people, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you guys had a hockey team," and they find out about it, and they tell 10 other people, and then it grows, it branches out, and I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to outreach. Our media team does a great job with that stuff, and I think if we just keep growing that and growing the culture of Auburn hockey in the South, or just hockey in general in the South, people will be like, okay, because people love hockey. They come to the games. I know I've met people in my classes that are like, "Oh, you have a hockey team?" They're like, "Oh, I'll come to your game." They come to the games and they keep coming back. They come back weekend after weekend. Even if win or lose, they still come to the games. And that's the biggest thing, is just building the awareness of club hockey and hockey in the South, and especially in Auburn. Because Auburn has the money. If they want to build a rink on campus or near campus or grow it and create youth teams, they will do it. If they have the outreach and support, they will do it. So I think that's it. It's just building the awareness. And one of the biggest ways to do that is to win. That's getting your name out there. If we win, people hear about that. Everyone loves winners. They're like, okay, cool. We won. Let's, see if we can grow this a little more and bring in better players. It helps with recruiting. So that's why next year I think is a really important year for us. It's going to be one of Auburn hockey.
And obviously for you guys, I know it's gotta be pretty rough. I know Auburn strives to be one of the highest academic schools in the world, in particular in Alabama. Definitely with the competitiveness between Auburn and Alabama, and I know club level athletes, they don't get the same benefits that NCAA athletes do get. And I know that's not easy. Not getting to skip class for 1 day or 2 days. So how do you guys sort of balance those demands of, school and hockey? What strategies do you guys use to stay on top of it? And then, I'll just leave that question at that point right there.
Yeah, organization is extremely important, and especially with everything on our plate, from school to, actually playing the hockey and also managing the hockey and the internal and external operations of the team. Organization is extremely important, which ties into the time management. Those are hands down the most important things. What was the second part of that question? Sorry about that.
You're all good. What are sort of your guys' strategies to stay on top of both of those situations?
Oh yeah, organization. Also, we're pretty lucky at Auburn. Most professors are they understand and support us. I think actually Cal is one of the rare exceptions. It's a little more difficult because he can touch on it more, but he's pro flight, and the scheduled flight hours. Pro's a little bit more of a challenge, but as every other class that is more traditional, every professor understands the school is good about sending out emails that essentially validate your absence. So I've never had issues, and I think almost everybody else on the team has not really had any issues, because the school's very understanding and the professors are very supportive of our traveling and missing of classes.
Yeah, so sorry. So Pro Flight, they don't honor excused absences for club sports, which is very ironic because the university honors it for classes, and the Pro Flight program, the aviation program, is underneath the university, so they should honor the same code, but they don't. Very confusing, but it is what it is. We make it work.
I think building on Landon's point, it's about organization and discipline. When you have a lot on your plate, it's about not only taking the time to do your work, but also taking the time for yourself to relax and get in the right mental state. And there are plenty of strategies that I incorporate. I'm sure that Cal incorporates and Landon incorporates, but at the end of the day, it's doing the stuff that's right for you. Everyone has their own way of disciplining themselves, and that's what you have to practice when you have a packed schedule like we do.
And so I do also have this question here. I know club programs, they differ from university to university, and I know you guys do have the dues. How do you guys sort of work with players who want to join who have never played hockey at all? But they're like, hey, I want to join and see, and then, they see those dues on top of the equipment. How do you guys sort of deal with that? And because that's been a big thing, and I was just talking to somebody yesterday about, the how high equipment has gotten in the price from a long time ago, and how that's sort of been the barrier that stops some people from playing hockey at a very young age also. So how do you guys sort of deal with that? And then, like, because I know some universities, they give some funds to the club programs just to sort of help them stay afloat and all that.
Yeah, so we get about 10% of our budget is funded through the school, which is nice. We are the highest funded team or club sport on campus. So that is a huge plus. And then we're actually one of the, if not the cheapest in dues of any team in the South, at least from what we know of. And there's plenty of ways to be able to do this with some workarounds with travel, versus we don't always take buses, which are a huge expense. But also, we do an excellent job fundraising. Our jersey sale is one of the biggest things since we essentially have a monopoly on Auburn hockey jerseys, which is a big benefit. And then also, we have plenty of donors who really help out and allow us to minimize cost. And without the donors, we would have to be paying a lot more or cutting back in some ways on maybe travel or games played. So yeah, we work really hard to try to keep the dues as low as possible. And it's without the donors and the school's help, then we'd be paying a lot more. Fundraising and good donors are huge for us.
Now, Landon, I do have this question real quick before we go to Alex and Callen here. I have a few classmates from back when I was in high school. You guys do sell the jerseys, correct, at the university bookstore, correct? That is sort of a
We don't. We
no?
sell it through a website that's only open about once a semester and happens to actually be open right now. And that the build up to it is really what everybody decides in the months off of not selling jerseys that they want one. We'd love to be able to get it in the bookstore, but unfortunately that's not possible right now. But our biggest thing is definitely the online sales.
I guess I could speak to your example about someone who was new to hockey attempting to come and try out for the team. Hockey is an expensive sport, unfortunately. I think USA Hockey right now is doing a fantastic job at making it a more grassroots operation. They have USA Hockey Day or Try Hockey for Free Day, where they provide skates and gear for every single player that comes to the rink. I think that's a fantastic operation. The gear costs a lot to make, and it sucks that it costs a lot to buy. But that's one of the things that you have to front when you play ice hockey. And it sucks, but it is what it is. If someone were to come and try out for our team that's never played before, they would have to go through tryouts. We've had this happen last year. Someone who had never played before got gear and went through tryouts. And because hockey in the South is getting very competitive, it would be tough for them to make the team, but it's not out of the question. And I think that speaks to our availability as a club sport, right? That would never happen at the NCAA D3 or D1 level. We truly are for the whole university. Anyone can come try out, no matter who you are. And even in some cases, maybe some guys might have some extra gear that they'd be willing to provide.
Now, Callen, before you do answer this question, I do have this question. Did you get to keep your gear from when you were at the NCAA Division III and just bring that over to Auburn, or did you have to give that up when you left the NCAA Division III level?
There's portions of gear that you can keep, and there's also some portions of gear that you don't get to keep. I know I get to keep like Under Armour stuff, warm ups, all of my jackets, stuff like that for apparel. But I had to return stuff like pants, helmets, and gloves.
And then, so I do have a few very fun questions here for you guys. Who is the funniest teammate you guys have, and what's the best prank or moment that's happened in the locker room?
It's got to be Sam. Sam's got to be the funniest. He doesn't even need he's just a walking prank. I don't know if you guys can think of an example, but Sam hands down.
Room and you start laughing.
Yeah, I absolutely love Sam. One example that I can think of, it's not Sam, but I think my freshman year or last year, we had a teammate named Chuck Bay, and me and my buddy from Wisconsin named Henry, we decided to mess with him a little bit before practice. So we took both of his sticks and we hit him like above the air conditioning unit, and he couldn't find him until about 2 minutes before practice started. So that was a pretty hilarious prank. But yeah, Sam's a great dude. He's a funny guy. He keeps team spirit up, that's for sure.
And then, if you guys could have dinner with any hockey player from the past or the present, who would it be and why?
That's a good question. I think a fun would be Marchand, just because he's he's been successful as a player, but also since he's kind of a rat, just hearing what tactics and what goes through his head when he, does some of the unordinary things he does. Marchand would definitely be up there for me.
This might be like a weird pick, but Pat Maroon just for the stories. Just because he won a lot of Stanley Cups and just to hear all the stories.
I'd pick Stevie Y, Steve Yzerman. The guy was a great player, but then also, like, as a GM, he's insane. So I think that is probably one of the best hockey minds ever. And it would be so fun to be able to pick his mind about hockey.
And then, what is the best pregame ritual or even superstition that you have that sort of gets you ready mentally for a game?
Well, I don't do any rituals or superstitions, but I pray before a game. That counts. I'm a religious guy.
Yeah, I'm not a big superstition. Same with Cows. I guess prayer before game. Also, I kind of get excited to go out there. I'm always one of the first ones there checking to see how long it is until puck drop. And it's not really a superstition, but I'm just excited to play.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of these guys. I'm extremely superstitious and extremely coordinated when it comes to getting ready for games. I've taped my stick the same way probably for the last 6 years. Maybe occasionally exchanging white tape for black tape whenever I am on a scoring drought. I always put my gear on the same way every single
Left
time.
side?
Yeah, I don't go left side. I go shoulder pads actually before breezers. Or I don't know what you guys call them then. What do you call breezers?
Pants.
Okay, apparently they're called pants, but they're called breezers in the north.
I guess I do the same thing too. I just put my pants on last just because I can't tie it hurts tying your skates if you have the lace or whatever the clips digging into your stomachs.
Yeah, exactly. It's smart.
It is.
And then, for you guys, I do have this question. What do you guys sort of hope your legacy, or your guys' legacy at the university or at Auburn University will be as being a part of being a member of the club hockey team there at Auburn?
Yeah. One thing is I kind of am lucky that they're it's kind of talked about what the previous presidents did with the team. So I failed pretty hard on our military jerseys. They didn't turn out as good as they seemed, but we got a Sparks machine, which was awesome. My goal is to be remembered as one of the better presidents and bringing, great memories to the team with maybe games scheduled, but also just the availability, new equipment to, step up our team as a hockey team. And I also have a benefit of it's kind of a fraternity of presidents. I talk to all of the past presidents quite often. We've done a couple Zooms, and that's like it's pretty cool how all of them love to stay in touch and want to keep the team going since everybody cares about it so much.
I can go ahead. I guess my legacy, or the legacy that I want to leave as an Auburn hockey player, is just how much we grew the program. When we came in here, there was sort of a divide on whether the program should continue trying to grow as far as competitive, or maybe just keep being sort of a fun, like, fraternity environment. And I think we've gone towards the be competitive in hockey side, and I think that's the right decision. And we want to continue that and continue growing our team and continue being competitive. And I think the one thing that I want to happen is for us to win a national championship, either this year or next year. That's the one thing I want to happen.
Yeah, I think for legacy aspect, leave it better than it was in the game. And I think we're doing a great job at that, exponentially growing this program in all branches, and we won't stop. Next year, we're going to keep growing, and just building and building and building, and then eventually, in all the Southeast goes NCAA, and we'll look back and be like, well, we were the founding fathers of the SEC, so that's special.
Alex, I got one very important question for you since you're from Wisconsin, and I do know that you guys have a Culver's down there. The cheese curds, the last time I went to Wisconsin, you could buy them in vending machines.
Okay.
So are the cheese curds that you have that are at Culver's, are those the same as the ones back home in Wisconsin?
So I think that theoretically they're the same because they're made, in the same Culver's, or with the same Culver's tips and tricks. But there's something about being home in Wisconsin that makes it a little bit better, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, Callen, Alex, and Landon, I want to thank you guys all for being on the podcast today. It's absolutely been a pleasure hearing about your guys' journeys, sort of the leadership you guys have at Auburn, within the hockey team, and how you guys sort of balance your academics and demands of being student athletes. I think our listeners will really appreciate the dedication and passion you guys all bring to the ice, and the sort of the future that you guys are leaving Auburn hockey in a few years with, and the great hands that they are in. I do want to wish you guys a great rest of the season. I know the season hasn't went too well this year, but there's always the second half of the season, and I know next season you guys are changing leagues. So just keep on pushing those boundaries. Maybe one of these days it'll be Auburn versus Alabama playing a hockey game at the NCAA level, and that'll be about as big as the Iron Bowl. So
yeah, thank you, Patrik. Thanks for having us on, and have a good rest of your week, and good luck with everything. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Cool.